Imagine a country sealed off from the rest of the world, like a room with no windows and a locked door. This is North Korea. For the 26 million people living inside, the world outside is a mystery, a place they only hear about in whispers, or through the distorted lens of government propaganda. It is a nation where time seems to have stopped, where the calendars mark the current date, July 12, 2025. But daily life feels stuck in a different era. The isolation is not just physical, created by guarded borders and barbed wire. It is also mental and emotional. The government works tirelessly to ensure that its people know very little about life beyond their sealed frontiers, creating a bubble of control where the state's narrative is the only one permitted. The country is often called the Hermit Kingdom, and for good reason. Travel is a privilege reserved for a select few, and for the average citizen, leaving their own province, let alone the country, is an impossible dream. The flow of information is a one-way street, coming directly from the state and nowhere else. There is no internet for the masses, no access to global news channels, and no way to simply call a relative in another country. This profound separation means that generations have grown up with a very specific, carefully constructed view of reality. They are told that their nation is the best in the world, a socialist paradise, and that the outside world, particularly America and South Korea, is a hostile and corrupt enemy. This extreme isolation has a deep effect on the people. It shapes their thoughts, their dreams, and their understanding of their place in the world. When you have never seen anything different, the abnormal begins to feel normal. The constant presence of soldiers, the portraits of the leaders in every home and building, and the public loudspeakers blaring patriotic songs become the simple background noise of existence. People live their lives within these strict confines. Their experience is limited to what the regime allows them to see and hear. The lack of electricity often means that nights are dark and quiet, further deepening the sense of being cut off from the modern, interconnected planet that hums with activity just beyond their borders. For those of us on the outside, it is difficult to comprehend what this level of isolation truly feels like. We are used to a flood of information, to choices, and to the freedom of movement. In North Korea, these concepts are foreign. Life is a shared, uniform experience dictated from above. The people are like actors in a grand play with their roles, their lines, and their emotions all scripted by the state. They are born into this reality, and for most, it is the only reality they will ever know. The silence from the outside world is deafening, and it is in that silence that the regime maintains its absolute and unwavering control over the hearts and minds of its people. In North Korea, the government's control begins at birth and never lets go. The Kim dynasty, Kim Il-sung the founder, his son, Kim Jong-il, and his grandson, the current leader, Kim Jong-un, are not just political figures. They are presented as divine beings, gods who must be worshipped without question. From the earliest days of kindergarten, children are taught to thank the great leader for their food, their homes, and their very existence. This process of indoctrination is relentless and all-encompassing. History is rewritten to glorify the Kim family's achievements, and their portraits hang in every classroom, every office, and every home. Their gaze is a constant reminder of who is in charge. The state's control extends to every facet of culture and personal expression. There is no such thing as art for art's sake or music for simple enjoyment. Every song, every movie, and every book is a tool of propaganda, designed to reinforce the state's ideology and promote loyalty to the leaders. Songs praise the wisdom of Kim Jong-un or the virtues of socialism. Films depict heroic North Korean soldiers defeating evil American imperialists. Listening to unapproved foreign music like South Korean K-pop or watching a smuggled Hollywood movie is a serious crime. It is considered an ideological transgression, an act of betrayal that can lead to severe punishment in a labor camp for the person caught and often for their entire family. This total control over information creates a population that is largely unaware of its own oppression. When the only news you hear tells you that your country is strong and your leader is benevolent, you may come to believe it, especially when there are no alternative sources to challenge that narrative. The state uses a powerful system of surveillance to enforce this conformity. Neighbors are encouraged to spy on neighbors, and children are taught to report on their parents if they hear them say something disloyal. This creates a society permeated by distrust, where people are afraid to share their true thoughts, even with their closest friends or family members. The fear of being overheard is a constant companion in daily life. The ultimate goal of this system is to erase individual thought and replace it with collective loyalty. People are not encouraged to think for themselves, but to think as the party demands. They learn to perform their loyalty in public, participating in mass rallies, crying with convincing grief when a leader passes away, and celebrating national holidays with staged enthusiasm. This constant performance is a survival mechanism. To deviate from the script is to risk everything. The shadow of the great leader looms over every decision, every conversation, and every private thought, ensuring that the individual is always subordinate to the will of the state. For most North Koreans, life is a cycle of hard work with very little reward. The concept of choosing your own career path is a luxury that does not exist. Instead, the state decides your fate. Based on your family's background, your perceived loyalty, and the needs of the state, you are assigned a job. You might be sent to work in the fields, on a collective farm, in a textile factory like the Kim Jong-suk Pyongyang Textile Mill, or in a heavy industry complex like the Cholima Steel Complex. This assignment is for life. With little to no opportunity for change, your dreams of being a musician, a writer, or an artist are irrelevant unless the state decides that is where you are most useful. The work itself is often grueling and performed with outdated equipment. In the countryside, farming is still done with primitive tools and relies heavily on manual labor, as modern machinery is scarce. A lack of fertilizer and fuel makes producing enough food a constant struggle against the elements. In the factories, conditions can be harsh, with long hours and a relentless focus on meeting production quotas set by the government. Workers are not laboring for personal profit, but for the glory of the nation. The state pays a meager official salary, but rampant inflation often makes it nearly worthless, unable to buy even a kilogram of rice on the open market. This system forces people to find other ways to survive. While official jobs provide little income, they are still mandatory. To skip work is to invite scrutiny from the authorities. Therefore, people must balance their state-assigned labor with the need to make real money. This has given rise to a network of illegal and semi-legal private markets known as Jangmadang. Here, people sell whatever they can: food grown in small, hidden gardens, handmade goods, or items smuggled from China. These markets are a lifeline, a symbol of the people's resilience and their quiet defiance of a broken economic system. The government officially frowns upon them, but often has to tolerate them because it cannot feed its own people. Life is a constant hustle, a delicate balancing act between obeying the state and ensuring your family does not starve. A woman might work her official shift at a factory and then spend her evening selling noodles from a street stall. A man might fulfill his duties at a state construction site while secretly repairing bicycles on the side for extra income. This double life is exhausting and fraught with risk, as private enterprise is technically illegal. Yet, it is this informal economy, born of desperation, that keeps much of the country afloat. It is a testament to the human spirit's drive to endure, even within a system designed to crush it. The memory of the Great Famine of the 1990s, known as the Arduous March, haunts North Korea to this day. It was a period of unimaginable suffering, when the state's public distribution system collapsed and millions are estimated to have died from starvation. While the situation has improved since its bleakest days, food insecurity remains a persistent and defining feature of life for the majority of the population. The government's promise to provide for its citizens is a hollow one. The state-run food distribution system is largely defunct outside of Pyongyang and for elite members of society, leaving ordinary people to fend for themselves in a daily struggle for sustenance. For many families, securing the next meal is the primary focus of their day. The main staple of the Korean diet, rice, is a luxury for a large portion of the population. Instead, diets often consist of corn, potatoes, or a simple porridge made from whatever grains are available. Meat is incredibly rare, usually eaten only on major public holidays or special occasions. The government's military-first policy means that the country's limited resources are funneled into its nuclear weapons program and the military, while the agricultural sector is left to languish. This diversion of funds means there is little investment in modern farming techniques, leading to chronic food shortages year after year. This constant scarcity has a profound impact on health and well-being. Malnutrition is widespread, especially among children, leading to stunted growth and a host of health problems. Basic medicines like aspirin or antibiotics are incredibly hard to find, and the healthcare system is poorly equipped to handle serious illnesses. Even essential items that people in other countries take for granted, such as feminine hygiene products, are scarce and expensive. The struggle is not just for food, but for all the basic necessities of a dignified life. This daily deprivation grinds people down, leaving little room for hope or planning for the future when the present is so consumed with survival. In response to this failure of the state, people have become incredibly resourceful. They cultivate small, secret gardens on hillsides or in tiny patches of unused land, risking punishment to grow a few extra vegetables for their families or to sell at the local market. They learn to forage for wild plants and herbs in the mountains. This constant, low-level anxiety about food shapes the rhythm of life. It dictates what people do with their time, their energy, and their meager resources. The empty bowl is a powerful symbol of the government's broken promise and the quiet, desperate resilience of a people forced to survive on their own. In North Korea, silence is more than just the absence of sound. It is a critical tool for survival. From a young age, citizens learn that the walls have ears and that a careless word can have catastrophic consequences. The Ministry of Public Security, along with a vast network of informants, creates an atmosphere of pervasive surveillance. People are watched at work, in their neighborhoods, and even within their own homes. This constant monitoring forces everyone to wear a mask of conformity, to praise the regime in public regardless of their true feelings, to express dissent, to complain about the food shortages, or to question the wisdom of the leaders is to invite disaster. The fear of punishment is the primary instrument of control. It is not just the individual who suffers for a perceived crime. The principle of collective punishment means that 3 generations of a family can be punished for the transgressions of one person. If you are accused of a political crime, your parents, your children, and your siblings could be sent to a brutal political prison camp, or kwanliso, a place from which few ever return. This system makes the stakes unimaginably high. It turns family members into potential liabilities and forces a culture of deep-seated caution. You learn to police your own thoughts, to bite your tongue, and to never reveal what you are truly thinking, even to those you love. This culture of silence extends to all aspects of life. Conversations are kept superficial and safe, focusing on neutral topics like the weather or family health. Jokes about the leadership are unthinkable. People develop a second nature for reading the atmosphere, for knowing when to speak and when to remain quiet. They communicate in code, using subtle gestures and veiled language to convey messages that are too dangerous to say out loud. The public sphere is filled with the loud, performative noise of state propaganda, parades, patriotic songs, and political speeches, but the private sphere is dominated by a heavy, watchful silence. This enforced silence takes a heavy psychological toll. It creates a profound sense of isolation, as people are unable to share their burdens, their fears, or their hopes with one another. It breeds a society of distrust, where you can never be certain who is a genuine friend and who might be an informant. Living a life where you must constantly censor yourself is exhausting. It is a form of mental imprisonment that is just as powerful as any physical barrier. The silence is the glue that holds the regime together, ensuring that any spark of dissent is extinguished before it has a chance to catch fire and spread. Life in North Korea is governed by a set of rules that can seem, honestly, pretty bizarre and cruel to the outside world. But for citizens, they are a deadly serious reality. These laws are designed not just to maintain order, but to control personal choice and enforce ideological purity. For example, all men and women are required to choose their hairstyle from a state-approved list of options. Styles deemed too Western or individualistic are forbidden. The way you dress is also regulated. Blue jeans, a symbol of American capitalism, are banned. These rules may seem trivial, but they are part of a larger system designed to erase individuality and enforce a collective, state-sanctioned identity on everyone. Some of the most draconian laws revolve around religion and information. Practicing any religion is extremely dangerous, as it is seen as a direct challenge to the godlike status of the Kim family. Christianity is viewed with particular suspicion, and being caught with a Bible is considered a political crime worthy of execution or imprisonment in a labor camp. The regime demands undivided loyalty, and it cannot tolerate a belief system that places a higher authority above the great leader. Similarly, the consumption of foreign media is strictly prohibited. Being caught with a South Korean drama on a USB stick or listening to a foreign radio broadcast can lead to years of hard labor. The COVID-19 pandemic provided the regime with a new pretext to tighten its grip, and introduce even harsher restrictions. In the name of public health, the borders were sealed more tightly than ever before, and strict internal travel bans were imposed. The government reportedly issued shoot-to-kill orders for anyone attempting to cross the border illegally. There were even reports of public executions for those who violated quarantine rules. While other countries eventually reopened, North Korea used the pandemic to justify its extreme isolation and reinforce its control, framing the draconian measures as necessary to protect the nation from the evil virus of the outside world. These laws are not just strict, they're also applied arbitrarily. A person's fate can depend on the whim of a local official or their family's political standing. There is no due process, no fair trial, and no right to a defense. An accusation is as good as a conviction. This unpredictability creates a constant state of anxiety. People live in fear of unknowingly breaking a rule or of being falsely accused by a neighbor with a grudge. This legal system is not about justice, it is about terror. It ensures that every citizen feels vulnerable and understands that their life and liberty are not their own, but are held in the hands of the state. For some North Koreans, the daily struggle and suffocating control become too much to bear, and the thought of escape takes root. But fleeing North Korea is one of the most dangerous undertakings on Earth. It is not a simple act of crossing a border, it is a life-or-death journey fraught with peril at every step. The most common route is to cross the Tumen or Yalu rivers into China, a border that is heavily patrolled by North Korean guards. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, this border has been fortified with new fences, more guard posts, and increased surveillance technology, making a successful crossing nearly impossible. Guards have orders to shoot anyone they see trying to escape. If a defector manages to make it across the river into China, their ordeal is far from over. China does not recognize North Koreans as refugees, but as illegal economic migrants. This means that if they are caught by Chinese authorities, they are forcibly repatriated back to North Korea, where they face certain torture, imprisonment in a political prison camp, or even public execution. Therefore, defectors must live in the shadows in China, constantly hiding, unable to work legally, and vulnerable to exploitation and human trafficking. Many rely on a network of brokers and Christian missionaries who risk their own safety to help them on their journey. The journey from China is a long and treacherous one, often involving a perilous trek through the jungles and mountains of Southeast Asia. Defectors travel through countries like Laos, Vietnam, or Thailand, hoping to eventually reach a South Korean embassy where they can claim asylum. This journey can take months or even years and cost thousands of dollars, money that most North Koreans do not have. They face the risk of being robbed, arrested, or betrayed at any moment. Every stranger is a potential threat, and every day brings new anxieties. The physical and emotional toll of this journey is immense, a testament to their desperate yearning for freedom. For those who make it, the moment they step into a South Korean embassy is a moment of profound relief, but the journey leaves deep scars. They have left behind their homes, their families, and everything they have ever known. They often have no way of knowing if their family members left behind are safe, or if they are being punished for their escape. The dream of freedom is an impossible one for most, and for the few who attempt it, the path is paved with unimaginable hardship and risk. The ever-tightening grip of the regime means that the window for escape, which was once slightly ajar, has now been slammed shut for all but the most desperate and fortunate. In the silent, controlled world of North Korea, any information from the outside is like a crack of light in a dark room. Despite the regime's best efforts to maintain a total information blackout, small trickles of truth manage to find their way in. One of the most prominent forms of resistance comes not from within, but from across the border in South Korea. Activists, many of whom are defectors themselves, are dedicated to breaking the silence. They use a simple yet powerful method: large hydrogen balloons. These balloons are launched on days when the wind is blowing north, carrying precious cargo into the isolated state. The balloons carry items that are forbidden and revolutionary in their simplicity. They are filled with leaflets that tell the truth about the Kim regime, detailing its human rights abuses and contrasting the poverty of the North with the prosperity of the South. They carry USB sticks and SD cards loaded with South Korean dramas, Hollywood movies, and documentaries about the outside world. For a North Korean who has only ever seen propaganda films, watching a simple romantic comedy from Seoul can be a life-altering experience. It shows them a world of freedom, choice, and material comfort that they were told did not exist. The balloons also carry US dollars, a powerful currency on the black market, and sometimes even basic necessities like rice or medicine. The North Korean regime views these balloon launches as a grave provocation, a direct attack on its authority. It has repeatedly demanded that the South Korean government put a stop to them. In recent years, the balloon wars have escalated. In retaliation, North Korea has sent thousands of its own balloons south. But these are filled with trash, waste paper, and even filth like manure and feces. This act is intended to be insulting and to show contempt, but it also reveals the regime's fear. It shows how threatened it is by the simple power of information and the truth. It knows that its control rests on a foundation of lies, and these balloons carry the seeds of doubt. This battle for information highlights the stark contrast between the two Koreas. While the South uses knowledge as a tool for liberation, the North uses ignorance as a tool for control. The South Korean government has found itself in a difficult position. A 2020 law criminalized the balloon launches in an attempt to de-escalate tensions. But South Korea's constitutional court struck it down in 2023, citing the importance of free speech. And so, the balloon wars continue into 2024 and 2025. For the activists, the risks are worth it. They know that every leaflet read and every movie watched has the potential to awaken a mind and plant a seed of hope for a different future. For the roughly 34,000 North Koreans who have successfully defected to South Korea, the journey to freedom is only the beginning of another different kind of struggle. Arriving in Seoul is like time traveling from the 1970s directly into the hyper-modern 21st century. The city is a dizzying landscape of skyscrapers, bright lights, and advanced technology. Simple tasks that we take for granted, like using an ATM, riding the subway, or ordering from a complex menu, can be overwhelming and confusing. Defectors have to learn how to navigate a capitalist society built on competition and individual choice, concepts that are completely alien to the collective, state-controlled life they left behind. The South Korean government provides a resettlement program to help defectors adjust, offering housing assistance, financial aid, and job training. But integrating into society is a difficult and often lonely process. Many defectors face prejudice and discrimination. Their distinct northern accents mark them as outsiders, and they are sometimes viewed with suspicion or pity. Finding meaningful employment can be a challenge, as their education and work experience from the north are often not recognized. They struggle to compete with their highly educated South Korean peers, and many end up in low-wage manual labor jobs, feeling that their dream of a better life remains just out of reach. The psychological toll of this transition is immense. While they have escaped physical oppression, many carry deep emotional scars from the trauma they endured in North Korea and during their escape. They also live with a constant aching guilt and worry for the families they were forced to leave behind. The freedom they now have is bittersweet, tainted by the knowledge that their loved ones may be suffering because of their decision to leave. This can lead to depression, anxiety, and a profound sense of isolation, feeling caught between a world they can never return to and a new one where they never quite feel they belong. Despite these hardships, many defectors show incredible resilience and determination. They work tirelessly to build new lives for themselves and to advocate for those still trapped inside North Korea. Defectors like Hyun Seong Lee have become powerful voices on the international stage, sharing their stories to raise awareness about the regime's brutality. They represent both the immense suffering and the enduring hope of the North Korean people. Their new lives are a testament to the unquenchable human desire for freedom, but they are also a somber reminder that the fences of the hermit kingdom create wounds that last a lifetime, even for those who manage to break free.